we usually start visually speaking. I know some of you raised your hands that you're veterans of the series. So we usually start with the image, but because some of you in the audience may or may not be too familiar with Guyana, I thought we'd start out with asking Keisha and Nikki to talk about what it was like for Nikki grow up in Guyana and for Keisha to return to Guyana. I think she returned for the first time when she was 3 years old with her family. So paint a picture for us of what growing up in Guyana was like, the landscape, the culture, your personal memories and experience. A lot of what, this is no disrespect to an American audience or a global audience, but as you know, a lot of times when people hear Guyana, they know two things. Jim Jones, the Jim Jones massacre of the 1970s, or they confuse Guyana with Ghana, right? And so we're going to try to sort of counter those two things and talk. You're welcome. And talk a little bit about Guyana. So Keisha, will you start us off with talking?
Sure. You know, I was born here, and as far back as I could remember, I was making trips back to Guyana. And I grew up understanding that my immediate family was here, my mom, my dad, I had an uncle here. But I grew up understanding that Guyana was where my family was. So when I think about the landscape and I think about, you know, just being in my grandmother's kitchen, every time I think of Guyana, the thing that really stands out is that's where my family is. So for me, you know, growing up and talking to my parents about, you know, their experiences, how they were raised, and then going there and being able to connect the dots and being able to see the places that they saw or being able to experience the food or the culture, or just to sit in I remember, you know, all these things, just sitting in a living room, you know, surrounded by family and just laughing and listening to music. So, you know, when I think about the landscape, again, it goes beyond, or it becomes so much more personal in my memory, in that it all comes down to this distilled space where I'm surrounded and nested in family. You know?
Well, for me, growing up there, it was always this multifaceted culture. You had Indians and blacks and Chinese and Portuguese, Native Americans, and Europeans, and who have I forgotten? There's six different distinct.
Count them. Native American,
Chinese, Portuguese, blacks, Indians, and Amerindians. Europeans. But it was this great diverse tapestry that you found wherever you walked out the door. So it was just this great culture. You're constantly exposed to all these different cultures, and the food is just amazing because you could pick and choose, and there's this, you know, blend of just family and friends. And Keisha talks about family being important. The kitchen was just always the hub of activity, because everybody would come in, and I'm the youngest of 9 kids, so imagine friends always coming in and out the door, and it was just really, really a special time growing up there.